So he went apeshit and is like, I'm doing all of this and it's for nothing. Oh, let me turn on you right quick, because y'all don't value my support. And Big E, you want Humberto Carrillo on the tag team? Where's his cousin at?
Oh.
What's up, guys? Y'all already know what it is. It's the Backstage Brawl. I'm your host, as always, the Golden Child, along with our usual suspects. We got the People's Champion, and we also got the Diamond Cutter, Kid Ty and Mean Gene. They're not in attendance as they got some things to tend to. Fellas, how you doing?
It's been a good weekend, bro. It's been a good weekend.
Very good weekend. Very good.
Y'all were chilling out in NXT TakeOver. You know what I'm saying? You know, y'all had some mingling to do. What y'all got into, man? Let them know.
First off, a huge shout out, to Sir Wilkins and the crew at the Jobbeteers podcast for hosting this event. This was one of the first events for me to go and basically network, and of course, I had to have the tag team partner with me, and it was a dope night, man. I mean, from my experience, we got a chance to meet some people and get into some fun stuff. There was a chopping contest, and I decided to basically be a guinea pig and get chopped straight in the chest. It was a fun experience, and
we can't like, we gotta pump the brakes on that. How is your chest? Well, you going into the chopping contest now?
I'm not gonna lie, like the way he put a lot of power into that chest, like I took it real strong, but there was a dude. That one of the dudes from the Jobbeteers, he chopped him so bad that he definitely kind of like he felt it, like it was kind of like an afterburner effect. And I was like, I mean, I'll take it. I'm a big kind of dude, so I was like, let me see if I can just take a chop. And
So basically, when Jobbeteers and Backstage Brawl links up, somebody gonna get messed up. E,
I guess.
How was your experience, man? What was your experience like?
Oh man, this was a dope experience. Again, shout out to Jobbeteers for even hosting the event and recognizing us too. We got a lot of love when we went out there, man. They knew Backstage Brawl was definitely there. But it was a great experience. You got to talk wrestling with a lot of people. A lot of, for the most part, everyone's very knowledgeable about everything going on, and hopefully when the next event comes, we can get the whole team together and we can definitely, make our way out there. It was a nice function. That's very nice function.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, you guys were out there for NXT, dope event. We're going to get into that, but wanted to kick it off with Raw. As always, it's a 3-hour show. A lot of news is going to be going on. Of course, Randy Orton versus Drew, that storyline is basically keeping it rolling, and they officially, coined it down. They're the first match that's going to have that Hell in a Cell tagline for Hell in a Cell. You also have the Ray and Seth storyline with Murphy getting at Seth, you know what I mean? Putting the pause on the Messiah, you know what I'm saying? But then, he kind of relents and he gets his ass handed to. Aaliyah comes out in defense, and Dominic is like, did you know what he just did? Like, do you remember 2 months ago, this dude was rolling with the thing. But the biggest takeaway, Monday Night Raw, Mustafa Ali turned this into this. He shut the lights on people. He is now the leader of Retribution. Guys, what are your thoughts?
You want to take it in?
Okay. I'm going to start off by saying this. We've gone on record on this show by saying that Retribution basically got ruined probably 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago when they kind of revealed to the world who they were, gave them contracts, and just basically just ruined them. It ruined the whole mystique of who Retribution is. And we booked how they can save Retribution. If I'm not mistaken, we booked it. And this was the angle that they could save it, by revealing a leader. Now, a lot of people call it, Dark Order. because it kind of has a similar appeal to what AEW is doing with Dark Order. But this needed a leader to save this angle, and they gave it to the perfect person. When Mustafa Ali was first doing this hacker gimmick, we all knew it was Ali from the jump. But the fact that Ali was doing this hacker gimmick, and like I said before we got on here, I was even looking back at those promo videos, trying to find little bits and pieces to maybe see if there was some kind of tagline towards Retribution, but I couldn't really find any other than he had interrupted a match between Tucker and Dolph Ziggler, which led to the Otis and Ziggler match at Mania. But I love the fact that they picked Ali. I just hate the way they did it. I felt like because since you already put a mic in the hands of Retribution, the only person out of Retribution, I believe, no, there's two people out of Retribution. But the main person in Retribution, forgive me because I don't know Mia Yim's name in Retribution, but Mia Yim is the only person that's out with COVID. Well, her and the other girl that's out with COVID. I can't think of her name right now. But they're both out with COVID right now. So you have to go to your next person, which would be Dominic Dijakovic, who spoke on the mic already. So you could have introduced the fact of an angle of we have a higher power, or we have a leader. Our leader is making us do this. Our leader is the one who said, take the contracts and kill them within. You know what I mean? And have Ali's kind of build up, his build up to revealing himself, where I thought Survivor Series would have been perfect the way we booked it. Survivor Series would have been a perfect time to reveal him. Even have flashes at Hell in a Cell. Not reveal him all the way, but reveal that at least put it out there that his reveal is coming. So that's the way I would have booked it. I mean, but they obviously went a different route. I like the idea. I like the fact that the Hurt Business actually has something to do now, because that's another thing I was calling for, because I'm tired of them fighting either Apollo. If they're not fighting Apollo, they're fighting Ricochet, which I thought they were going to go a route where Ricochet was going to be like, hey, well, if you can't beat him, you might as well join him. And he was going to go with the Hurt Business, and, Apollo was just going to be by himself. I thought that angle was probably going to happen.
Yeah, it was a nice twist. It was a nice twist that they had also too, yes, with Ricochet in that promo where, like, you already saw Ali, because I remember looking at the promo myself, and Ali was just like looking indifferent, and they were like, man, don't worry about him. He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be Ali. And then, you just see Apollo Crews and Ali walk away. And then Ricochet hesitates, and he just stands there for a little bit in the frame. So, like, even down to that, I feel like, if I were to give them any credit, that little promo there gave you enough to say, I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know who's going to do it. So
it was a good twist to see that Ali actually is doing a different character, because Ali is so beloved and known for being a babyface. So it's interesting to see. This is really a year of heels. The end of this year has been dominated by heels. So this is great. I mean, I want to see more of it.
To your point, in terms of how they did it, in some ways, like, we here a few weeks ago, like, offered the idea to reintroduce the hacker gimmick with Ali. I do agree the fact that they did drop the ball in terms of revealing it, but it needed to happen the way it did last night, because you had to salvage it. Because the way Retribution's story was going out the way it was, they were hemorrhaging and they needed something to salvage, whatever took place and how they've been presented. Yes, they could have went the route, and had they done it properly, that would have been the best way to introduce Ali. But they've been alluding to Ali over the last couple of months, especially the last couple of months, in terms of turning by his tweets. If you really, really look at his tweets in terms of being on Main Event, don't get me wrong, those matches was fire, but Ali knows that he's too good for Main Event, and he's been kind of hinting at it. And
and also with that, there's something to be said about him working with a lot of baby faces on Main Event. It's not necessarily what he's doing, you know, or the captions that he's saying is who he's working with. He's working with Ricochet. He's working with, you know, Cedric before he turned, heel. You know, he's working with Apollo Crews. So although they're still entrenched in that storyline, you know, he was working heel on those in main events. So it's like, if you weren't paying attention then, you're going to pay attention now. So it was kind of one of those situations.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
You know, so
I feel like that this is gonna be this is huge for him because the first time like this because he's had the rope pulled from under him, you know, the rug pulled from under him a couple times already. The first time a couple years back when Kofi Mania happened, it was supposed to be Ali winning the WWE Championship from Daniel Bryan. Then the situation with Orton. Then when he first started the hacker gimmick, everybody kind of knew in terms of the light who it was, but it was just a matter of how they were going to do the gimmick. So, and then they dropped the ball on that, and then he went back to Raw, which was kind of like, okay. So they had to basically ingratiate him and go back to the fact that, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to go back to it and see how we can basically save the story. And like you alluded to it, you know, it has some similarities to how basically the Dark Order basically started off. For a while, they had no leader. And they had no sense of direction on Dynamite. It would just come out, destruction, and no legit reason. I mean, they had vignettes and all that stuff, but it didn't make any sense until Mr. Brody Lee came, and basically now, with the leader, they have direction, and they were able to salvage that aspect. So, kudos to you for that comparison. So,
yeah, you know, it's an interesting thing to see because like. I'm gonna keep it honest. Like, I loved how it was personally, only because, you know, to both of your points, this needed to happen. You know what I mean? Randy, you made the point that, like, you know, the whole rush for him to become that guy here. That last night, you know, it was a little bit rushed, but in the same token, it was hemorrhaging, so you had to kind of salvage it in a way. I think the bigger in the grander scheme of things, my only gripe, my main gripe, is kind of the long game. And it's a long game of the fact of what you pointed out, right? This whole thing of which, you know, you pull the rug out from under the babyface. We've seen it with, you know, Bailey has gone through it. Sami Zayn has gone through it. Daniel Bryan himself has gone through it. All these people who are true baby faces. It's like, if creative doesn't have anything for you, you have no other choice but to turn heel first, so that once like they deem you salvageable enough to do a storyline, they'll turn you back face. And like it's a bittersweet thing because sometimes you don't get like when you make that turn all the way back face, you don't necessarily get that push that the company had initially in their mind set for you. So it's going to be a tough thing for me thinking long game, but in the immediate, personally for me, I'm all for it. You know, there's also some things going on again, you know, whatchamacallit, we could talk about the Drew and Orton thing, but we've talked about that at length. We already know about that. Let's get into this whole fiasco with Aaliyah and Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins and, you know, Mari Povich and Dominic Mysterio, and for some reason a bearded. Shout out to Humberto Carrillo looking, you know, he got the beard thing, you know, looking here.
He's actually looking like a grown man now.
You know what I say about two things: Asians with facial hair and some Mexicans with facial hair. Can't trust them. Something about to happen. I can't trust them. Can't.
Like I said, this has been a year of heel turns, and everyone who's turned heel has revitalized their career.
Exactly.
Some way, somehow.
Exactly.
Let's trust them.
But in the same regard, you know, you see a situation with Buddy Murphy where, like, I had a text message from my boy Steve. You know, we all went with him to NXT 25, and like, he was kind of like, whatchamacallit, Shane equals Dominic, Test equals Murphy, Vince equals Ray. Like, you know what I mean? So he was just making all those parallels, and like, you could see how the story.
Oh no, Seth Triple H? Oh God.
So
I mean,
it's a
no
weird
lies
it's
there.
yeah, so it's a weird dynamic we got there. But what do you think of how, it played out, especially Big E, knowing the Messiah supporter you are, the disciple of that you are. Talk to
Man,
us, Big.
I just feel like this storyline needs to die. It just does. It just needs to die already. I mean, and this started back in what? Right after Money in the Bank, started
Yeah.
around June. It's October. Like it's got to die now. It's got to die. If you're going to at least keep it going for the greater good of having a Buddy Murphy versus Seth Rollins match, I'm all for it. If it's going to lead to that. But it's like tone down on the Mysterio family. Tone it down on them. And now you're adding Aaliyah into it. It's like she wasn't supposed to, in my opinion at least, she wasn't supposed to be an on-screen character. She was only supposed to be there to support her brother. That's it. Plain and simple. You got Dominic kind of out of it. You got 1 foot out of Dominic, 1 foot in, which is a start. Because I would like to see Dominic and Humberto become a tag team, because there's no tag teams right now for the Street Profits to face. There's no division, especially with the Viking Raiders on the shelf. There's no division. So I would like to see those two become a tag team.
So with that, I'll pose a question to you, because,
Okay.
like, we have the storyline right here. It's not like we could, wash it. Well, WWE has, washed away storylines 1 week after they just like are done with it. But let's just say that they're not over with this. And we see how everything's going with the whole Buddy Murphy dynamic. Could we see a case where we can have another, and Raw has been, known for this over the course, I'd say for the better part of 15 years, these like mismatched tag teams bred off of storylines like, that of where they were at odds. So like Buddy Murphy, who legitimately becomes a sympathetic figure, is trying to basically, become that guy that earns the trust of them. Not to turn on them, but to actually be an understudy of, let's say, Rey Mysterio. Because again, Buddy Murphy, he basically got his big pop where? Cruiserweight division. You know what I mean? 205 Live. So it would probably be like, imagine a dynamic where like Buddy Murphy is like, yo, I'm legit, like all the shit that I did, like all the stuff that I did, like I was lost. I was lost on Raw. I didn't know where my place was. I was the best kept secret. And then I was out in the open. I was not a secret anymore. I was lost. And Seth found me. Now I just need a place where I can identify myself. And, Ray, you will provide the platform. And then Ray would be like an unwilling teacher on some Cobra Kai type shit. You know what I mean? Like, would that be a little bit more of a alluring type of thing for you?
Allow me to let me put my Tyler hat on in terms of booking this.
Go ahead.
Because I think you're onto something. With Buddy Murphy, one thing I realized last night, and I don't think that as much as we give WWE shit for, especially on Raw, I think they're establishing Murphy as a star. I mean, we all know he can be a breakout star at any given time. But I think they're starting to put more seeds into, more wood to the fire, and with Murphy. And if they do go that route, right? And Murphy's basically the one that basically is redeemable in the eyes of the Mysterio family, and basically Ray being the new mentor for him. This can basically fall into the line of what we've been talking about for the last couple of months in terms of what could happen for Dominic, where it's like, okay, you're taking this dude in, like after everything he's done to our family, after everything he's done to you, bump that. That's the best way to basically make Dominic turn and basically become a disciple for Seth. That can breathe new life into the story. Because the way the story is right now, like it's like you basically ran that story as far as it can go. It needs a new chapter. Because
I think there's another dynamic that I think long range down the line, I think that's the dynamic that I'm going with. But picture this, right? You have Buddy Murphy, and like similar to how he established, like, you know, Seth grew his trust through Buddy Murphy sacrificing himself for the greater good. Buddy Murphy sacrifices himself for the greater good of the Mysterio family, gaining the trust of, like, legit trust, like where it's genuine, from Dominic and Ray and all those people. The drawback effect of that, because E was mentioning that the reason why this came to my mind was because E was mentioning the whole thing about Humberto Carrillo. Humberto Carrillo's been like tolling away, trying to flood through these different Spanish tag team partners. Let's just say if he's just like, yo, I'm tired of being coming in defense. Like, I almost lost my eye coming in defense of Ray, and everyone forgets about that. I just grew a beard. Let me be heel. Let me be mad at what had happened, and let me be mad at the fact that I went, because last night on Raw, if I wanted to give a top 3 performances on Raw, he has probably top number 1, 2, whatever, because he had the cleanest hot tag I've seen last night. So he went apeshit and is like, I'm doing all of this and it's for nothing. Oh, let me turn on you right quick, because y'all don't value my support. And Big E, you want Humberto Carrillo in the tag team? Where's his cousin at? So now you could get you could get a whole situation where if you want to keep him in the loop with the whole Latin vibe, you could keep Humberto Carrillo alongside with Angel Garza. Boom, you have a tag team on this side. Boom, you have Buddy Murphy and Dominic Mysterio. You have 2 budding young tag teams there.
You know what's gonna break everyone's booking on this?
What?
Next week draft.
You're right.
You're right. Like,
no, you're right.
SmackDown. This
you're right. It's Friday. It's Friday.
Yeah. So, I forgot. SmackDown starts it off. So the draft starting on Friday. I'm
glad. I'm glad that SmackDown finally starts off. It's always Raw starting shit off. I'm glad SmackDown gets some love.
This might, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I like both ideas, to be honest.
Yeah.
I love the fact. I always thought Dominic would turn, because I always feel like as a new star coming in as a face, and especially backing the legendary name that you have, you're going to get that sympathy off rip, because they're going to pair you the first couple of matches, the first month or so. They're going to pair you with whoever's in your family, whoever you're backing up. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to get that babyface sympathy. But it's harder to come in as a legendary name and coming in as a heel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only person that I know that did it successfully, and I could be wrong, but the only person that I can remember that did it successfully was Randy Orton. Randy Orton is the only person that had a legendary, came from a legendary background, and he came in as a heel, and it just worked.
No. He came in as a face, actually.
When he was on SmackDown.
Well, okay. Well, I'm not talking like the first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the reintroduction.
Oh, the Arnon. Yeah. You know what's the thing? I thought, like, as you were thinking about it, like, because we were all, of course, with wrestling or with all these different types of things, you try to link and try to see similarities to see how the trajectory of someone's career will be based on their first initial impressions in the ring. You see Dominic Mysterio, he's a natural. He has pedigree from his family. What is he? I hear what you say right now, and I'm thinking Cody Rhodes back in 2007. So I'm thinking like a person like Dustin back in the day. So I'm thinking like a person who's like straight up just like thrown into, because Cody was like in OVW for like a day, main roster. Baby face, everything, just like Dominic. You know what I mean? I think, he was the same age as well, 22, 23, and he was basically a natural. And then a year along those lines, he turned heel. So, to Randy's point, and to yours as well, like if he turns that tide, who knows? We could see a similar trajectory. Pretty Boy also, looks running the family. So, the possibilities are endless. And just like everyone has mentioned here, he could possibly end up on SmackDown by this Friday. So that's definitely.
If it's not him, just real quick, because I know we didn't add this into the show, but if it's not him, more than likely, Angel Garza is going his way to SmackDown, which I think
God.
would be huge.
Before we do that, before we move on, if Angel Garza goes to SmackDown, boy,
Huge for his career.
The Intercontinental title scene? Sammy, D-Bry, Jeff Hardy, AJ, because AJ going nowhere. So fuck that. I'm killing that noise right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get into this. We're gonna end the show with our trade predictions. Because like we're gonna record on Saturday and all that stuff. I want to hear you guys' like hot takes because in the group chat, you know, that's brawlers. I wish you were here for the spiciness in the group chat. The spiciness. We heard Seth Rollins being traded for AJ Styles, and people were like, AJ Styles just went back to SmackDown. What's good with you? We just heard all this type of stuff.
So hold on. Let me give everybody a quick rundown.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm the ambassador for Raw, and me and Gene, unfortunately, he's not here right now. He's the ambassador for SmackDown. So basically,
excuse me. He does not speak on behalf of SmackDown. If he's here more than a few episodes per week, he can make that claim. Until then, he ain't no ambassador of SmackDown.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
If anything, it's people's champ. He's wearing blue. I'm wearing red.
I'm Team Blue. I represent, Kid Ty. I carry the spirit Kid Ty because he's here in spirit. We Team SmackDown. I'm the ambassador right now. Me and G could go take a hike. All right? Because he's been dodging smoke for the last couple weeks. Let's just make that clear right now.
In the interest of fairness, this is what it is. So he basically proposed the trade of AJ Styles for Seth Rollins. I said no because Seth Rollins needs to stay far away from Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is too hot as a heel right now, and we all know when Rollins and Reigns are together on the same show, creative ignores everything else and puts those two in the ring together, and it seems like Rollins always beats Reigns. I don't want that to happen this time around. This is what I'm loving the Usos and Roman Reigns storyline. I'm loving how that is going. I'm glad it's getting another match at Hell in a Cell. But now, I propose this trade. I proposed Kevin Owens because looks like he's already getting into a feud with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
And Bray Wyatt's not going anywhere on SmackDown. Yeah. So I proposed Kevin Owens, and then I proposed my early prediction for the Rumble winner, and I said it first, Samoa Joe. He will win the 2021 Royal Rumble. So,
word to Charles Barkley, are you guaranteeing this?
Guaranteeing it.
Okay.
You
already hear first, Backstage Brawl. Samoa Joe won the 2021 Royal Rumble.
He is. This is my proposed trade. I will give, Randy, because Gene's not the ambassador.
I was about to say,
I will give Randy, KO, and Samoa Joe for AJ Styles to come to Raw.
No.
Gene said he would take it. Randy says no, and I understand why Randy says no.
No. See, Gene will take anything if it makes it hot. Me, it has to make sense, and it has to be a fit. AJ just got back to SmackDown. And recently, AJ was asked a question with Paul Heyman working with Roman. He said, listen, as long as he's not running the show, I'm good with that. I'm Team Blue all the way. But I do get it. Somebody does have to go to Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for me, I'd rather part with Miz or Morrison before I part with AJ Styles.
I mean,
more so Miz.
That's fine.
Because I cannot. Listen. I want to keep my roster up, and because you want to make the world title scene hot. These are the people you keep on SmackDown. Jeff, Morrison, AJ. You bring Angel Garza, you can basically flip flop. You bring Joe, but save Joe until he wins that Royal Rumble. And then you have a rising Big E. You can probably move Sheamus to Raw after this whole situation.
But see, you know how I had Joe.
You
know how I had Joe. I had Joe like this. I had Joe being in the scenario of being one of those low key like trades that went to SmackDown. It's like, oh, SmackDown says we have a trade. but we're not going to reveal it just yet and have everybody guessing. And then when Joe wins the Rumble, Joe just shows up that next Friday on SmackDown in the middle of the ring talking shit to Roman. That's how you book it.
Tyler would be proud. I love this.
That's how you book it.
I love
that. But that's how I would do. I wouldn't even let anybody know next Monday that Joe is going to SmackDown. It's just creative comes to him and says, Joe, we're going to put you on SmackDown. We're going to save you until the Rumble. And then you're going to be a surprise entry in the Rumble. You win the Rumble. We're going to keep you off TV. Let's just say to the end of the week. If not the end of the week, next week. That week after the Rumble. Because it's still going to be hype. And keep everybody guessing. Oh, what is Samoa Joe going to do? Is he going to go after Drew McIntyre? Or is he going to go, fight Roman? And everybody will be like, oh, he wants to fight Roman. Then a week later, Roman just comes out, starts talking shit like, yo, I didn't beat everybody. Who else is there left to beat? Joe's music hits. There it is. And that carries over for the next few months. So, spicy. I mean, that's how I would spicy. Do it. And if it was up to me for anybody coming from SmackDown to Raw, unpopular opinion, break up the New Day. Unpopular opinion. When I say break up the New Day, I would say I'm not saying all, like, two of them have to go here and Big E's by himself, because I feel like even though Big E is very passionate and fiery on the mic, I still feel like Xavier is that person to be next to him, to be like a miniature Paul Heyman. So I would say Big E and Xavier stay on SmackDown and they stay together, and then Kofi can go to Raw.
I think that's better. I go with the original plan by having Xavier Woods basically being the go-between, going between both shows as a manager, and say if they go for the tag team titles against, whoever's the tag team champions at the time, it could be the go for that tag team titles and still be the manager for Big E during a singles run, or vice versa. They can do either or. I
don't know. I think I like E's better. Here's the thing. Because everyone's kind of fiending with this dynamic that Big E can go on his own. And he can, especially with Xavier Woods by his side. The biggest underlying theme that I take away, especially over these past couple of years, is a whole thing of Kofi Kingston. What will he do on his own again? Now, he was champion with the New Day and he was on the success, and then he lost it and everyone was mad because he didn't go right back to it and he was happy-go-lucky. I think it's more appealing, at least to me, the dynamic of what would happen if everyone goes away and they're like, oh, so you're alone again. Are you going to fade into obscurity like you were before they came through? And then Kofi just turns up. In the meantime, Big E's turning up on the other side, and then when they go to pay-per-views, they just interact with one another. It's like, yo, we made it on our own, just like how we did it together.
It's like make Kofi hungry again.
Yeah.
That's basically how I'm thinking about it.
I mess with it.
Because the thing is, like, with Kofi, because again, everyone is on the Big E's gonna do just fine. He's going to do just fine. I worry about Woods because he's always injured every now and then, but I worry about Kofi because we've been like, especially before the title win, he and Dolph Ziggler were on the same tier of like, 1 year I'm relevant, next year I'm not. 1 year I'm relevant, next year I'm not. 1 year I'm relevant, next year I'm not. Then he hits the New Day. And then he has this steady diet of like airtime and relevancy. And with him alone, and you saw it with him even with the title, like it was kind of like that initial push. After that initial push, it was just like, oh, it's just Kofi. And you don't want to fall under the same lines, because once that hits, then he's going to go into the 6-man tag matches with the title, which he did during the summertime. Actually, and then by the time Brock Lesnar came in and like at 5 minutes, at 5 seconds, everyone was like, hey, what's up?
I got a question. Do you think because of that run as champion, even though for me, I don't care, 6 months, to me, he had a solid reign. Do you feel that because of that, it was more so that people kind of grew, Kofi kind of like hit the ceiling in terms of that New Day situation, which is why it was underwhelming? Or the fact that he was basically just too satisfied and didn't have the hunger when he was there.
I like if it's a one or the other question, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
I'd probably have to go for the former, because the thing is with the Kofi situation, you know, it's a very unique dynamic where one of the people from your team, of which nobody's a leader, becomes a main champion, and there's no dissension whatsoever. It's very hard to convey a story where it's like, we're happy for you and you did it, and we can sustain that story without causing any friction. New Day, I feel like they had, you know, great enough characters where they could have made that work. But because SmackDown was focused on other things, maybe Raw was focused on other things, and there was different dynamics, then, you know, there were certain things that went by the wayside, to the point of which it's kind of like, you know, I don't mean to throw, I believe Drew McIntyre has done a fantastic reign, but to the point of which, once you see like the attention off of you, you could see the run of the mill of the same title matches. Like, there was a graphic of Kofi and Drew McIntyre facing Ziggler, Randy Orton, Randy Orton, Randy Orton, Randy Orton. And when you get into that mode, you realize that there is a routine there, which, you know, you don't want to rely on a singular formula. So the former of him peaking, I don't want to consider it him peaking. I don't want to consider it that the fact that Kofi ended up himself him peaking, but it's more him peaking as a single star under the umbrella of the New Day. It's one of those things where it's just like, it's like you're carrying luggage and you have to like do a jump, like you're trying to do a vertical leap, reach your maximum vertical leap, yet you're holding.
And then not only that, even on commentary, they never really mentioned Kofi. They never acknowledged Kofi by himself. They always acknowledged Kofi and the New Day. Oh, Kofi is WWE champion, but the New Day is also tag champs. And it's just like, if that's your main champion, you have to acknowledge your main champion as such, your main champion. You have to separate him from the pack, because he has separated himself from the pack. He has separated himself from the whole locker room. That's why he holds the main title. And it's just like, you saw him. It was bad enough he still came out with the New Day theme. He came out in the new theme getup. He came out with the New Day. So it was just like, Kofi really didn't stand by himself until the pay-per-views really came around. When the pay-per-views came around and Kofi had to, you know, when he fought every match with Daniel Bryan, when he fought Randy Orton, when he fought Samoa Joe, who else did he fight on his way? Kevin Owens. When he fought all of these guys, even Kevin Owens, I don't even really consider Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens was like an honorary member. And then in one of those pay-per-view matches, Big E had came back and came out. So I really don't count Kevin Owens.
Oh yeah, because Big E tore his meniscus at the time.
Right. So I don't really count Kevin Owens. I don't count that, because it's just like, okay, it's just, we replaced Big E with another person and still kept the essence of the New Day. So it's just like, Kofi never really stood on his own 2 feet, sort of say. If they would have gave him the regular Kofi Kingston SOS theme, and, you know, he could still come out, I guess, in the little bit of the New Day get up. But it's just like, yo, separate Kofi from the pack. It's like the same thing when Seth was champion. When Seth was champion and the Shield got back together, when Seth came out by himself, he came out as Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
He didn't come out as Seth Rollins from the Shield. But when the Shield got together and Seth Rollins was champion, they all came out as the Shield. You can still keep that same essence with Kofi. And they never did that.
Yeah. And, you know, for like, in defense of his reign, they did do that at points. Like, I was there at the Garden when he was, you know, reenacted the scene with, you know, Randy Orton in 2009, where he did the table spot, the boom drop. You know, like, there was moments where you felt Kofi Kingston was the champion. You felt that he was the guy. But then for every, let's say, one of those moments, there was 5 of those, to your point, Biggie, where it was just like, I'm just another one of the guys, which is okay on the surface. Well, it's okay on the surface, but when you are trying to work a story in, it's like, it's hard. It's hard. It's really just hard to like get through to you. Like it's bad when I could sit there and say, and this is gonna sound very much blasphemous. But it's hard. It's a crazy thing to say that Jinder Mahal, his title reign, I can consider him, not his reign or whatever the case may be, but how he carried himself as a champion. I could see him as a champion more than I could see Kofi Kingston as a champion. And that shouldn't have happened because we know the potential. We knew the potential was there in 2009. We've been over the 11 years, so it was there. We're gonna get back to the trades for a bit, but I do want to show some love to NXT because NXT TakeOver 3-1 was last Sunday. You guys were over there in the city. You had all the title matches. You had the returns of the likes of Toni Storm and Ember Moon, doing her best Mad Max impression. Fellas, what were your biggest takeaways from NXT, and what are you expecting for them, heading into tomorrow night?
It's funny because on the way there, driving, me and E were basically just like booking that night, and then further on about how they were going to go about it. Because it's funny because I didn't buy the fact that they might turn UE face, and because by the end of the night, and I was like, dang, Biggie kind of nailed it. And we were just talking to see how it goes because I'm like, who's going to make sure that turn happens? Because I was like, all right, if I'm Vince, it's about time to basically turn, one of those guys, because you can't have that moment if it's not me, type of situation with Cole and O'Reilly. So I was ready for that. And then when I saw old dude, I was like, oh shit, because like there was some great matches, and I like the fact that because me and E was basically asking ourselves like, yo, it's like the fourth straight match. Like everybody was trying to be mad technical with the arm drags and the arm submissions, like every match. But I will say one of my takeaways from that night is how Kushida had a monster showing.
Yeah. Like
Kushida killed it. I mean, because you can always count on Velveteen Dream, allegations, excluded, to have a great match and put somebody over. But that match, Kushida brought it from opening jump. Like when he came in, he didn't even come out, doing his thing. He just was like, nah, man, I'm about to just, it's on site, he looked at, Velveteen's Doc Brown as if he was Biff from Back to the Future because it was a themed match. So they were going at each other, he was just whooping his ass. And submissions and technical stuff, and the way he was catching him lovely into the arm drag and the submissions, it was so beautiful that night. And the way the energy was that night at the Legends Bar, everybody was like, ooh, and ah, because everybody knew that Velveteen Dream was going to get his ass beat, but it was the way it happened. And that was one of my favorite takeaways from that night, and how everybody was able to be technically sound and slow it down for a bit. And I loved how every match did that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, before we move on, because Triple H did before the pay-per-view talk about Velveteen Dream, about his temperament behind the scenes, and how he carries it out as a professional. I want you to put your Triple H hat on. You put yourself in his shoes. Where do you see yourself handling the whole Velveteen Dream situation, on screen, off screen? A lot of people are trying to clamor for him to maybe leave. A lot of people are clamoring for him to be jobbed out. What would you do?
I'm gonna that was actually gonna be one of my biggest takeaways. It was gonna be that was gonna be one of my biggest takeaways. That even though I knew Kushida was gonna get the win here, a part of me felt like they were gonna give Velveteen the rub for this because they put him in a match for the to fight for the North American title, and he didn't win that. So I felt like, okay, maybe he'll get a singles win, but he didn't even get that. So if I'm Triple H and I'm looking at it like this from a business standpoint, this is what happens. Because let's be honest here. We've seen allegations and things like this happen with wrestlers in the past. Not even allegations, people who just naturally just cross Vince. We've seen this happen on the main roster where somebody just jobs out for a little while. We've seen it happen to Triple H. We all know what happened to him. Yeah. He got buried until he cut that infamous promo between him and JR, and it just skyrocketed from there. But that's the same sense here. He's basically saying, listen, kid, you made a mistake. Whether or not it's true or not, you made a mistake regardless. You made a mistake. These are the consequences of that mistake. And in the climate and where we live in today's age, if people see somebody who made a that big of a mistake, and we all know what happened, but whoever made that big of a mistake, and we're seeing them being pushed by this company, that's basically stating that this company supports what he did. And we can't have that. We're not saying we support what you're doing. So basically, you have to get swept underneath the rug for a little bit until all of this goes away. When all of this, when it slows down and all of this goes away, we'll consider putting you back in the limelight. But this is basically now your punishment. You're in the doghouse now.
Yeah.
This is basically what's going on.
Putting my Triple H hat on, great sentiment. Triple H is basically, and Triple H is a student of the game. Let's preface that first. He's a true student in terms of how to handle and conduct business. Velveteen's handling right now is basically, like you said, is incumbent in terms of how certain stars were buried back in the day. Again, whether the allegations are true or not, there's a certain way to handle business. And of course, the way the heightened culture of today is okay, you make a mistake, you have to be fired. I do like the fact that Triple H has done enough due diligence in terms of investigating what's going on with the Velveteen Dream, and the fact that there was, from his findings, that nothing was going on. He still had to punish him. He had to be made an example of, because you put the company at a huge risk by putting yourself in that position, whether it's true or not. And based on that, you cannot just get away scot-free. So what we're going to do is, like to E's point, we're going to put you through the ringer. We're going to put you through a few things to see if there are going to be days where it's not going to be easy. And there's a lot of people, of course, calling for someone's job. People make mistakes. And for the fact that I think more so his mistake on why it's more rampant now is more so about how he's handling it in terms of firing back at social media. Not the fact that the situation itself and the findings in this and the third. It's how Velveteen addressed it. Yeah. And how people's like, oh, word? Because of how immature he handled the situation on social media, Triple H sees it as like, listen, you're back at work. We did the investigation, but the fact that you're addressing this the way you are, you're putting more heat on you than you need to. And that puts the company at a very compromising position. So because of that, we have to basically make an example out of you. Not to the point where it's like, okay, we're basically burying you. We're going to make sure that you look good in the process. But at the same time, with a job, we gave you a job. You know, you're basically, you know, one of our top guys that we see in the future. But at this point, you're going to have to go through your bearings to basically earn your stripes and come back.
Got to pay your dues.
It's a code of honor. It's a code of honor, honestly. And, you know, like to your point, Triple H just went through it with the, you know, the curtain call. You know, you could think about all the different stars of the past with the steroid busts, the Mr. Kennedy's losing his Money in the Bank briefcase, you know, especially in the climate that they're in right now, as a, you know, pre-2000 when they went public. You know what I mean? Because, like, clearly you could see the dark side of the ring for all the different things of which has been swept under the rug. But in regards to now, it's not necessarily the act that you allegedly did, but it's how you act and basically, treat that. You see it with Sammy Guevara back in AEW. You even see it right here, as polarizing as he is here at the Backstage Brawl with Matt Riddle. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of those guys who, like you're going to have to kind of go through the ringer, and based on how you handle it, basically shows the true test of whether or not you're a professional. But getting it back to, some good talk, about NXT TakeOver. I did want to touch on that for a little bit, just for the, backstage, for the brawls, let them know how conscious we can get. But back on NXT, talking about professionalism, talking about two just stiff artists. We were talking about, the championship title match. We were talking about Finn Balor. We were talking about Kyle O'Reilly. We were talking about them basically turning face. But let's just talk about the match itself. Kid Ty, I'll speak for Kid Ty because he did he called me that night. And to his point, this is his quote, words, not mine. He labeled it as one of his favorite NXT matches all time, period. What were your guys' initial thoughts, your thoughts right now, especially about this match?
Watching it live, man, it was a stiff. It was one of Finn Balor's more complete, one, storytelling, and second, one of his most complete matches that he's had in NXT, let alone WWE, since he's arrived back in 2014, 15. He has been quite the savant in NXT. He is the standard bearer. No matter where he goes, he is just as much as NXT as anybody. And Kyle O'Reilly, since ROH, you knew the dude could go. You knew he could go. Like he's that guy, like technical. He can get technical. He can speed up the pace if he wants to. He can slow down the pace if he wants to. He can get hardcore if he wants to. He can go aerial. He can do this. He can go with the strikes. He's very well versed in terms of his athleticism and overall talent. And Kid Ty would always allude to the fact that despite the plethora of talent that's on Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly is one of the best, if not the best, on that in that faction. Adam Cole may be the star, the biggest star in the Undisputed Era, but the best talent there is Kyle O'Reilly, and he displayed that on Sunday night against Finn Balor, which was, in my opinion, it was a barn burner. It was an instant classic.
We got to time that out, because I just caught something. You just said, he's the best talent on the Undisputed Era. We had this conversation about Adam Cole, by him carrying Pat McAfee last TakeOver. He was going to be top 5. If he top 5, Adam Cole, that means Kyle O'Reilly need to be top 5 too. Big E, you gotta chime in. This is your guy, man. This is your guy, man. Come on. I'm trying to defend him.
I don't know. I don't know because I'm very critical on Kyle O'Reilly as well. I already know. I've seen matches between him and Adam Cole. Kyle O'Reilly is definitely a guy who, to the People's Champ's point, can do it all. He's a very versatile wrestler and probably one of the best sellers in NXT right now. Probably one of the best, if not the best seller. The best seller in NXT, and he takes the most bumps. And he's willing to take the most bumps. But as far as that goes, I don't know. I can't judge him off of one match. Now, who he faced now is a big challenge. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Finn Balor's not a pushover. But in the sense of Adam Cole carrying a guy who had legit one match in WWE and it being on NXT, not even on live TV. Well, when I say live TV, not like the main shows on Raw and SmackDown in front of a crowd. When he did it where it's more of there's no room for error because everyone's going to notice. You carried a match and you had a 4.5 star match with this man. Okay, 5. I was being nice. I was
Oh,
trying not to,
he's talking about the Pat McAfee.
I'm talking about Pat McAfee and Adam Cole.
4.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
a 4.5 match. I mean, that says a lot. I mean, but when you're in there with a pro that's just as good as you, or even slightly better, the match itself is gonna be big.
Yeah.
The match itself is gonna be big, and the spots are gonna be big, and that two professionals are gonna go in there and do what they have to do. But when a professional carries a guy that's stepping into his world that hasn't even done this and has had a minimal of what he probably had, like maybe a month and a half to get ready for, and he looked like he's been doing it longer than a month and a half. I can't put Kyle O'Reilly in top 5. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Can't do it.
I respect. We need more opinions on that, but I'll say this much: this is a pro Balor chat. There's a pro Balor thing. I'm gonna just put my 2 cents in there. There's a reason why I say Finn Balor, that dude. That not like he's Drake once said top 2, and I'm not 2. Finn Balor, like, let me talk about the pacing, the in-ring presence.
I will never ever doubt Finn Balor, ever. The only time I doubted him was on the main roster, and that wasn't his fault. I will never ever doubt NXT Finn Balor. NXT Finn Balor, and he proved it on Sunday. NXT Finn Balor is a maestro in the ring. He controls the pace. He controls the storytelling. It all comes from his corner. When you face Finn Balor in the ring, the opponent doesn't have to do much. But when you have somebody who is equally as good as Finn Balor, as in Kyle O'Reilly is, I feel like Kyle O'Reilly is probably right there with Finn Balor. If they give Kyle O'Reilly enough freedom to let him do some storytelling as well, I think him and Finn Balor are close. But that's just my opinion. Go back and watch Kyle O'Reilly matches. You'll see why I say that. But but Finn Balor does everything for you. The only thing you have to do is just show up and make it look good. You have to show up and nail your spots. You have to show up and know what you're doing. We all saw on Sunday most of the matches were technical submission matches. That's how I looked at it.
All of them. From the first match to the last match.
I mean, even Damian Priest is not a technical wrestler. He showed a technical side.
Yeah.
I like to say something, Matt. Hold on. I like to say something. You realize that Finn Balor, with the exception of Kushida, has had a 4 or 5 star match with most of the people that was on that card that night?
I agree.
The entire 2020. Damian Priest. He had Priest. He had Keith Lee. He had Gargano. I mean, Keith Lee wasn't wrestling that night, but still. He had Gargano. Like, you know, even put some out of Cameron Grimes. Like, boy. Like, and just to steer off of that, my 2 biggest takeaways, which I already discussed the first one, which was the whole Velveteen Dream thing, and then I would love to see Kushida like turn heel, because now Finn is kind of a tweener. Finn's kind of a tweener. He's not really a face. He's not really a heel, but the fans will get behind him either way. But then you have Kushida, who's chasing the title. I want to see him chase the title as a heel. I would like that. But now you got this whole new dynamic with who Randy, since you didn't know, and everybody asked you in the bar when we were all looking at it. Yeah, that was funny. Like, who is this guy?
We didn't know who was carrying Adam Cole. It's actually, his name is Ridge Holland. So Ridge Holland now is going to be in this storyline with UE. I don't know how that goes. And that's how I guess UE would be a face faction now.
Yeah.
Because now their leader got attacked by this big, scary looking dude, and nobody really knows too much about.
Which
so
I think
now
it's a pretty cool thing. Like, real quick, it's a pretty cool thing that they're doing that, because if they do, because I know, like, with the draft coming up and everything, and they've been teasing the UE going up, I think that bringing them up, it probably best serves them to go up as a face faction if they were going to go up all together, because there's so many heel factions going on right now.
I agree. I agree. And the only and now I'm gonna do another booking that's not gonna happen because I booked you.
You never know. You
UE.
never know.
No, I booked UE for this Survivor Series. Unfortunately, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson no longer work for WWE. I booked it for being a Bullet Club reunion, basically Finn Balor in one corner, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, all on the same squad against UE. That would have blew the roof off of Survivor Series. Whether this was before COVID had hit, whether it would have been with no crowd, virtual crowd, they would have did what they did at the new, well, I call it the new Performance Center. The new Performance Center, it still would have been great to see. It's something the fans want. So now I'm going to do this fantasy looking. We got Retribution in one corner. I believe they have 4 guys because there's 2 girls in their squad. So I believe there's 4 guys, including Ali, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's 4 guys on the UE. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. So now I know it's a traditional 5-on-5. I know it's a traditional 5-on-5. Y'all are looking at me like,
no.
Big E, what are you talking about? Listen, let's change it up. Basically, WWE officials are tired of Retribution every week coming in here just doing whatever the hell they want. They gave them contracts. They're still doing whatever the hell they want. Why not bring up a face faction who is going to go toe-to-toe with them? The Hurt Business, unfortunately, they, no pun intended, they got hurt last night. Hurt. Bobby Lashley took steel steps to the head. That hurt. So you're going to bring up UE, you're going to have Retribution, and you bring them up as, factions, and you have them fight at Survivor Series. This is how you do it. Now, do I want UE on Raw? Part of me, yes, but no. I think they would thrive more on SmackDown. I feel like they would be the better fit for SmackDown. Right now, SmackDown doesn't even have any type of faction other than the New Day, and the New Day is not even around. So It's pretty much fair game for them to run roughshod in SmackDown. And we already saw a Adam Cole, Daniel Bryan dynamic. You can have an Adam Cole and Roman Reigns dynamic. You can have Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish go after the tag titles. Now you make a tag division. Roddy can go ahead and go for the Intercontinental Championship. You can do the same dynamic that they did in NXT with them winning all the belts, but you could just have them chase it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to put it on them right away.
Yeah.
You can have them chase it.
And not for nothing, like, their characters, because, like, the thing that I always tend to think about is, like, if you're turning heel or if you're turning face, is your character, like, your true character, base value, transferable to heel or face? I think they have the type of character that could do that. Like, they could
the
still
fans will get behind them either way.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they would do well on SmackDown. I will say, and we could segue this right into, like, actually, shouts out to TNA, well, Impact. Shouts out to, we're going to get to G1 Climate. Hopefully, we'll have more time, next week. Well, not next week, later on this week to cover both of those things. But I do want to get to, in particular, the SmackDown potential draft situation going on. Because Hot Take City, if they are to, let's say if they were to switch brands, titles, right? I don't know if it's possible, but you guys have been mentioning, trades for these different types of people. For whatever reason, there's been a weird suspicion in my head thinking, like, yo, imagine they switched, like, the mid-tier title belts. Because I feel like, personally, for me, like, if I were to look at any guy, like, Cesaro is a weird case where the last time I saw him, like, legit thriving was on Raw. And I could see Shinsuke Nakamura kill on Raw. I could see, Sami Zayn, to an extent, kill on Raw, especially if Kevin Owens goes to SmackDown, because rule of Roman Reigns, Seth, well, the rule of the Shield, don't have both of them same motherfuckers on the same brand because they're just going to feud with each other. So keep them different. If Kevin Owens is going to SmackDown, bring Sami Zayn's ass to Raw. And if that's the case, could we see a certain thing where, like, you know, again, I don't know if they you know, mention all these rules of things, but like, if I were to make up a dream scenario, you guys let me know your thoughts with this. I bring Sami Zayn, the Artist Collective, to Raw. I bring Hurt Business to SmackDown. MVP gets his SmackDown stamp. Then you have the cocky heels. You have Bobby Lashley back where he first was. You have Shelton Benjamin back where he was first thriving. Cedric Alexander could go on his own. And for the love of God, they could get the fuck away from Apollo Crews and Ricochet. If Ricochet wants to go heel and then go with them, that's cool too. But they could do that. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? And also, what is your, like, you know, beside the things that you've mentioned already, your hot takes or your hot trades?
That's a really good idea. Like, thinking about, like, swapping titles. I think that I do think that the Arts Collective would thrive on Raw because they kind of need a shakeup in that department. MVP and the Hurt Business on SmackDown, that they'll get away with murder. Like, creatively, if you think MVP got stroke on Raw now, if he goes to SmackDown, son, it would be great. Like, I would love it. That would be the perfect thing to shake up both shows, even though SmackDown's been thriving regardless. As long as you have, like, the guys that are gonna be on your main storyline that's still there and doing their thing, that's great. Yes, those things would work. KO would work perfectly well on SmackDown. If you trade them for Sami Zayn, and then the Artist Collective can go on Raw, the Tag Team Championships. That would basically behoove the Street Profits to come on SmackDown as well, because if we're exchanging titles, you know, those guys, you know, got to go too. Both shows will be equal and balanced for the first time, because usually Raw is always getting all the major stars or plundering SmackDown talent that should not be on.
They're always top heavy.
So
yeah, very.
This is the first time, probably since 2016 when they first did it, that you have some form of balance. That's one thing that Vince has struggled with in terms of shows, is balance.
I'm gonna go a different route with this.
That's okay. Yeah.
So this is my route that I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stick with the New Day still breaking up. I'm gonna stick with that because I like the dynamic of having Big E having a manager, even though he really necessarily doesn't all the way need it. But I like the dynamic of Xavier's very underrated on the mic. Very, very underrated. People think because he plays around and he has the New Day gimmick, a lot of people don't remember. When they first did this New Day gimmick, it was supposed to be a serious gimmick. They were supposed to be a heel, serious gimmick.
Nation.
And then they just switched it on us, which we all thought was going to be, you know, a shit show, and then turned out it worked.
Jokes on us.
Right, jokes on us. That was the one time wrestling fans were like, "Oh, this is going to be shit," and then it wasn't. But that I'm going to stick with the New Day breaking up. Kofi going on his own to Raw. Xavier and Big E staying on SmackDown. I'm going to go Angel Garza going to SmackDown. I'm going to take Miz going to Raw. In that sense, I like the fact if Garza goes, he breaks away from Andrade and Selena Vega, and Andrade can be his own standalone star, which we know he can be, but Garza is just that a little bit more, if not that much more, hotter than Andrade as a standalone star. He has the charisma. So I feel like Garza would be perfectly fine by himself. As far as the women go, Naomi can stay. I'm gonna take Tamina probably going to Raw because she's like one of the miscellaneous women.
Not right now. I wouldn't pluck Tamina yet because of the Roman story.
Yeah.
I'm not too big on what woman would go where. I know Charlotte would go to SmackDown. That I do know.
That would fit. That actually would fit.
Charlotte going to SmackDown would fit.
You know what? You could, like,
for who? I don't know.
They need it. And I would put Sasha far away from Bayley and Charlotte.
Yes, definitely. definitely.
Like Bailey would have to go to Raw.
Yeah.
Bailey would have to go to Raw, but then that kind of gives away what they're going to do at Hell in a Cell. But we'll see what's going to happen. And my biggest one would probably be or another one, probably Buddy Murphy would go to SmackDown, but only if they give up on this angle. If they give up on the angle of Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, they don't want them to have a match.
That would be too much.
Like that can happen.
That'd be, like,
that would be too much.
It would be too much. You don't want to glut SmackDown of that much. They don't want to have too much gluttony on SmackDown.
I was also thinking
thrives so well is the way that they're so balanced in every department and it checks every box. No matter how trash or underwhelming it may be, they've always had a great equilibrium of how they move talent.
And that's why, like, I feel like, while it's tough, and I know, like, if let's say if it was a Mean Gene here or a Kid Ty here, like, it would probably be some pushback with what I mentioned. But, like, the only reason why I, like, plucked in the tag division is because I know that that's the one division where, although the talent is there, the steam is lacking, especially on SmackDown. So if they were just to kind of mix things up in that respect, one, it would basically benefit Raw just because it shows a new face easily. But for SmackDown, it kind of resets them in a way, because with it, like for an example, you mentioned Angel Garza going on SmackDown. What's to say that, again, let's just say, taking the Humberto Carrillo thing, let's just say they both go together and eventually make a tag team on SmackDown. That could be a case, and they could basically reset it that way. So, like, there's so much. It's one of those things where if you're doing a draft, like in my mind, like trying to draft it, like, I want to see which division has the most talent that's like lacking in steam. Like, who has the 90 overalls but has the 40 popularities, and I'm a switch.
You can do that as well. I was even thinking of even breaking up Cesaro and Shinsuke, and if Sheamus goes to,
they gotta lose the straps.
Yeah, they gotta lose the straps. But I'm just saying, breaking them up, and then Sheamus goes to Raw, Cesaro goes to Raw. Now you have the Bar back together, and that is a tag team that can take away from Street Profits.
No, I don't.
You can do that as well. There's only so much you can rinse and recycle, I know, but they're a tag team that actually works.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like Raw has no division, just like SmackDown has no division.
It's overdue Cesaro gets something other than a tag team angle.
But it's sad to say. He's not looked at. He's looked at amongst the wrestling community as more than a tag team specialist. We know this.
He's a cult fan. I mean, he has a cult.
in creative, they look at him as the guy that's going to be in a tag team all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. I'm here to say it. It's not fair. I think Cesaro is, pound for pound, besides Brock Lesnar, the strongest guy on the roster.
He's had one singles title since 2012,
which was the United States title.
He has
that run is for
8 years.
And that's, but like, that's just the thing where, like, again, he falls in line with those guys like Ziggler and Kofi Pre, where it's just like 1 year they're relevant, the next year they're not. 2016, remember Raw? He was uppercutting people in 3-piece suits. That was
when Shane was running Raw.
To be fair, if he didn't get injured, if he did not get injured,
even if he didn't, he still would have been hot. Shane was running Raw. Cesaro had just came back the night after Mania. That pop was ridiculous for him. I wish he would go back to that music, because that music worked for him. And then, like I said, like Jay said, he came out there in 3-piece suits with the breakaway suit, had his wrestling attire underneath, uppercutting people like it was nothing. It was to the point where you thought he was going to be the one to challenge for the title the night after Mania in that main event.
That's a fact.
You bring that Cesaro back, I can get behind it.
So, to touch on that, and we'll end off on this, one guy, one guy or girl you want to switch brands. If you had to choose just one.
I'm gonna let Randy go.
People champ, start with you. One guy or girl you want to, and it could be SmackDown, Raw, and you can even put in NXT too, because, we know those rumblings. One person you want to bring on whichever brand. What say you?
I'd keep NXT out of it. Miz. It's about time Miz is going to break up on his own, because Miz did allude to the fact that he wants to be WWE champion again. So when Miz is hungry and going for a title, he's proven time and time again that he can bring that energy, and he's gotten much better in the ring over the last, over the last decade. So he can go in the ring. He's one of the most consistent guys on the mic. I would say Miz. He would thrive on Raw.
Big E, you're one guy.
I'm really sitting here thinking, because it's like so many people that are overdue for a fresh start. It's ridiculous.
You have $1.
I wish, and maybe they'll swerve us and put NXT in this draft.
Yeah.
But if they do, the one person I would pick from NXT,
Gargano.
I was gonna say Ciampa, but I'll take Gargano too.
Ciampa would rather retire than go to SmackDown on Raw.
I was about to say I know how he feels about the main roster, but it's a shock. It's a shock.
Where it's SmackDown or Raw?
For him, SmackDown, definitely. I don't think he thrives on Raw.
Okay.
The only time it works for him on Raw is if, there is a babyface champion on Raw, but he's so entangled with Randy Orton, it's like he's obsessed with Randy Orton. Yeah. If this was like,
what? Whoa, hold that thought. Wait, no, Tommaso and Orton got beef. Why not Raw? Wait, why not?
No, because I'm gonna flip the scenario for you. I'll flip it for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna flip it like this. Let's just say, for whatever reason, Edge has the WWE title. Edge is on this nostalgia run, and he's faced Drew, beat Drew. He's faced Orton, cleared his demons with Orton. Now the draft comes along. You got Hell in a Cell coming up. He has no opponent. And you see Tommaso Ciampa come out. That's like the biggest threat to Edge. And I'm not talking face Tommaso Ciampa. I'm talking about heel. I'm gonna break your neck. I'm exposing the pad. Yeah, I'm the psycho, the Sicilian killer. That's what I am. That's I would love to see that if in that case, because it's like, to me and to anybody who else watches NXT, it's like, oh shit, Edge is about to die. Like I'm legit scared for his life, because
Ciampa's gonna kill you.
Ciampa's really gonna kill you. That fairy tale ending might be the last thing you see.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Him and Orton do have some type of Twitter beef, and you know what? That's not a bad idea either. Only because that segues Orton out of the whole Drew McIntyre thing, and that gives him something to do. So I'm pulling into your idea. You know what? No, I would put him on Raw now. I would put him on Raw. I'm going to be the different guy.
You see the colors. You see the colors.
Because if you put him on SmackDown, he's not going to fight for the main title. He's going to go after the main. He's going to go mid-card, which he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be anywhere near any type of mid-card, because we've seen what he can do. And he's not going to fight Roman, because that dynamic doesn't work. It's not working for Roman right now. Roman right now is on a collision course for the Usos, and we don't know what these stipulations are going to be come Hell in a Cell. After that, Bray Wyatt is going to be the next person in line. He might have a little mini face turn, or if not Bray Wyatt, it might be Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens might be the next person, because
he's due for a title run. So
he's due for a title run. He's due for at least a match. The last time they fought each other, KO was the champion, and Roman was the challenger, and Roman lost.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Oh.
And KO. Whether anybody wants to believe it or not, KO has 1 foot in SmackDown, in the SmackDown arena already.
That's a fact.
And then after that, hopefully we get, like I said, my prediction, the Samoa Joe story angle where it's Samoan versus Samoan, and we just have that happen. So if in that case, Tommaso Ciampa should go to Raw.
So
That's my argument.
We got to pull for. We got Ciampa going to Raw. We got
as
got
a surprise upset.
Miz going to Raw. So, you know, shouts out to that. The whole Kevin Owens thing does perfectly segue to my shout out, because like he's been treated kind of like mid-2000s Jericho. I only say that because tomorrow night we're going to be seeing on AEW 30 Years of Jericho. You know, what's your guys' favorite? Like, if you had to have one moment of Jericho, it could be 99 debut, it could be whatever the case may be. What's your favorite moment of the Ayatollah of Rock and Roller?
Probably his debut. I mean,
You're gonna go with his debut, okay? That's cool.
Probably the debut. Because for someone who's watched him since he was Lionheart, Chris Jericho, you know, the long list with 1,000 moves, his legendary feud with Dean Malenko at the time. As a kid, as a 6-year-old kid at the time, I didn't know he was gonna leave. I didn't know he was gonna leave WCW. I didn't read the dirt sheets like everybody else does now. So when he showed up on Raw, I was like, wait a minute, this is different. Because Rock was because he was getting his ass beat by the unholy alliance between Big Show and the Undertaker. So before, you know, Rock and Sock basically connected, and like he comes out and just basically comes and just says most of his catchphrases from WCW, and he had that little chin thing every time he came out, you know, and it was just so crazy because obviously it was 1999 going into 2000, and he played off that Y2K gimmick so beautifully, and he literally rode that for a good, you know, up until he went to AEW. So he rode for over 3 decades. I
will say this: that debut, especially with The Rock. The Rock was at the time the most charismatic character in WWE, and then to bring someone in that can honestly, in my opinion, go toe to toe with The Rock. No.
He can.
He can. Okay. He can. He could go toe to toe.
I'm a big Rock fan.
Yeah.
I'm a big Rock fan. He can.
Who can go toe to toe with The Rock on the mic. I mean, they're both charismatic. So he became the most second charismatic character. For me, my moment would have to be when Jericho won both titles, man, when he became the undisputed champion. When he was, you know, I hate to use this term because now we're using it now in 2020, but Jericho 2 belts. You know what I mean? When he won the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWF title, he beat Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night, and we're still talking about that to this day.
Yeah, he's still talking about that to this day. So
yeah, he does. He does.
It's gonna be some. It's gonna be something to check out, guys. It's been dope. Golden Child, People's Champ, Diamond Cutter. Guys, you enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy AEW, NXT, Impact. You know, G1, SmackDown, the draft, NWA.